You're kidding. Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song. I'm hung up in a grave situation.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rotten Views Podcast. I am your host, as always, the host with the most. I'm kidding, I'm just your normal, typical host, nothing special here. Welcome to episode 146, I believe, of the Rotten Views Podcast. That's crazy to think of. I say that every week, and I think that every week. It's just crazy to think that I've stuck with this long, but it's all because of you guys, because I see the numbers going up, and I see people appreciating and enjoying the podcast. And actually, last week's episode, Colors, was the fastest growing episode, like for most listens within 48 hours, which is kind of crazy to think of. I wasn't expecting that movie to have as many listens right off the bat as it did, and I appreciate it. I really do. You guys all rock, and hopefully this one will be another fun episode as well, because we're watching a 1997 movie for an hour and 51 minutes, and an action crime drama rated R called Gang Related, and you can watch it right now on Tubi. It is in the leaving soon section though for me, so hopefully by the time this episode goes out, it will still be on Tubi. I'm watching it, or I'm doing this early, so go me. I'm not going week to week at this point in time, so I feel pretty good about that. So hopefully we can keep up with it, and hopefully keeps new episodes coming out, but we'll see what we can do. It's pretty hot in this apartment, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm sweating bullets, and it's almost 11 o'clock at night, and I don't know why it's so goddamn hot in here, but there's no damn breeze. But I guess that's a good thing. There's no extra noise, but whatever. You guys don't care. Besides, it's gonna be a totally different temperature hopefully by the time this episode goes out, or we could all just be melting over here in Canada and the wildfires and whatnot. I'm sure it'll be fine though. It'll be fine. And you trusty Americans, you can stop complaining about the smoke pollution and all that kind of stuff. You guys got bigger things to worry about, like school violence and all that kind of fun stuff. But that's besides the point. So hopefully it didn't offend anyone. We're going to get right into the movie at hand. Actually, we're going to take a side note. I just want to put it out there now in case you guys don't listen to then. That being said, I do know a lot of you guys listen to then, and I appreciate everyone who sticks around to then. But for those of you who don't, please make sure to check out the links down below in the description, where you can check out all my various social media accounts. You can check out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube being the main thing that we're pushing. I got the weekly art videos going out, or daily at this point, art videos going out on the short section. We have the weekly video game video going out every Wednesday, and then we filter in some of the podcast episodes throughout the week as well. So you can definitely go check that out. Hit the subscribe button, hit that notification button as well. That way you get notified anytime I post a new video. And then we also have the TikTok going as well. Just posting quick videos on there of the artwork and whatnot. If you guys want to see more how-to videos or me just drawing in general, let me know, and I'll definitely start recording those more often. I just haven't been because I just don't set up my camera. I have no excuse, to be honest with you. I really should be doing it more often because that's more content, and then maybe one day we'll have an extra Patreon setup where I just can't justify doing a Patreon yet. I know a couple people have suggested it. It's just I don't feel like I have enough content to give to you guys to make it worth, $5 a month or whatever. But we'll see. It's all stuff to be done in the future, so we'll see how it all goes. But like I said, now we're going to get into the movie at hand. Before I do start talking about the movie, as always, if you guys don't want to be spoiled of a movie that came out in 1997, feel free to pause now, go on Tubi and watch it on there. I think it's also on Amazon, and I think there was one other, Apple, I think is the other streaming service that has it. But Tubi, it's free, so why won't you just watch it on Tubi? But yeah, like I said, if you don't want to be spoiled on anything, feel free to pause it now and come back. Hopefully we'll come back because we do need you here, and I appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, this movie came out in 1997 on October 8th. It's got 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb, 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 2.9 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 78% of Google users like this movie. Quick rundown synopsis on Google says corrupt cops Da Vinci and Rodriguez have been murdering drug dealers and selling their narcotics. But when they accidentally kill an undercover DEA agent, the dead man's partner, Sims, comes calling. In search for a scapegoat, Da Vinci and Rodriguez use a homeless alcoholic they call Joe Doe, the DEA agent. Why does that sound so hard to say? Gross suspicious of the crooked duo, as keeping up the scheme becomes increasingly dangerous and complex. That doesn't really sell you on the movie. I think it goes into a little bit more detail than it needs to be, but whatever. It is what it is. It's also distributed by Orion Pictures and MGM, of course. So this seems like a first for like movies I've been watching lately. It's actually written and directed by the same person, which is Jim Kolf. He's best known for writing National Treasure, Rush Hour, Stakeout, which we're going to definitely do for this podcast because I love that movie. And he also did 123 episodes of the TV series Grimm, which I'm amazed by. It's a fucking great show. If you guys haven't watched that, I definitely recommend checking that show out. And yeah, he's also a co-executive producer on Ghost Whisperer for 31 episodes as well. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah, this movie's starring Jim Belushi and Tupac Shakur. Hopefully I said that right. I'm pretty sure I said that right. What's the tagline for the movie? The tagline: in this city, the deadliest criminals are the ones who carry badges. It's fair. That's fair. Cops are pretty much, assholes at times. Just putting that out there. Trivia: the spiky on-screen relationship between Jim Belushi and Tupac Shakur was helped off-screen by the fact that Shakur liked to nail his scenes in 1 or 2 takes and was annoyed by Belushi preferring to do it in multiple takes. Apparently there's also a goof when Detective Frank Da Vinci talks to Joe for the first time about the crime in the car. We can clearly see the camera in the reflection of the window. As the scene progresses, the camera zooms in and a head can be seen in the next camera. Also, the crazy credits, this was dedicated to Tupac Shakur because he died in 1996. I guess I didn't realize the year that he passed away. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. On IMDb, the quick tagline though, or like synopsis, is: after murdering an undercover DEA agent, 2 corrupt cops scramble to cover up what they've done. That's much easier and straight to the point. You don't get spoiled that they're using a homeless alcoholic guy. Also in this movie, there's also Tiny Lister, which I'm did I say Lister? Tiny Lister Jr., which I'm pretty excited about that because he's a good fun actor to watch. And James Earl Jones is in it as well, so that should be fun. But enough of me talking about the various things on IMDb about the goddamn movie. Let's get right into the goddamn movie.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
You and me, we made this world a better place. Look, we took out a few scumbags, that's it.
I think maybe what we did wasn't right.
The pimps, the killers, the drug dealers, they're all garbage. Nothing wrong with taking out the garbage.
It's the last time, Frank. It's the last time we kill somebody.
Another day, another body. Could be gang related.
One less drugstore on the street.
The man in the car is Lionel Hudd, DEA, undercover.
I can't believe this. You don't get popped by other cops when you're a cop. What the hell you want me to do? Turn myself in? Well, I'm not gonna do that.
This is personal for them, and they want answers. And they'll be looking to blame somebody in this department.
All they want is someone to go down for the crime.
So what are you saying? Saying we stick this to somebody, huh?
Where were you last Friday night?
Yo, man, that ain't my gun. It's funny. Got your fingerprints on it.
Better have a good alibi, or it's good alibi bye.
I was breaking and entering. Sense of care.
I was in jail all night.
We're the cops on this case. We're gonna find the killer.
We are the killers.
Now, what do we have here? Where were you last Friday night? Look, Joe, this is where you killed him. Whatever evidence there is, it's gotta go through us.
Were you joking me?
I need you to do something.
Good, I need the money.
We sure do pick them, don't we?
Try to remember his face.
And this is all I have to do.
We're the teachers, and 2 and 2 can add up to 5 if it's our classroom.
This is no way to run an investigation. This is who you picked. Why'd you get the Pope and pin the murder on him?
This was not supposed to happen!
They want me in court.
Miss Webb, do you know what perjury is?
I can't do this, Frank.
She could blow this whole thing. Why do we have to start killing people, man?
Back off!
We just can't go around killing everybody.
James Belushi.
Could be gang related.
Gang related. Tupac Shakur in his final screen performance.
The movie just starts out with the Orion picture display coming up, and then we jump right into the movie where we see a Cadillac driving down the road at nighttime, and I believe it's a Tupac song playing. I could be wrong. I don't know a lot of it. I know a decent amount of his songs, but not all of them by any means. Where it says intro credits say James Belushi, even though it's Jim Belushi on IMDb, like I said last week. I don't know when he changed his name or why he changed his name, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, I can definitely tell as the song's going on, it's definitely a Tupac song. And then we just pop into a strip club because why not? It's the 90s. We can pop into strip clubs all the time. But it's fun. I will say I know for a fact that I've never seen this movie ever before, so this is gonna be a full new experience to me, and I'm hoping it's gonna be a good movie. It's, so far, you know, I haven't seen much other than strippers, but it should be pretty good. And we started zooming in on a hotel room where we can hear two people talking, and that's Jim Belushi and Tupac. Jim Belushi's character is Da Vinci, and Tupac's character is Rodriguez. And they're talking about how they wish they could be any place else, and then Da Vinci's like, you know, I could be in Hawaii. I could think about Hawaii, and Security's like, never even been to Hawaii. How can you dream about Hawaii? And then they have this little discussion about the whole thing. That's the thing. I'm gonna try and stick with calling them their character's name, but it's probably gonna slip, and I'm gonna probably be like Belushi and Secure. I'm hoping I don't do it too much, but I'm pretty much probably destined to do it. And then Rodriguez is like, you know what, we gotta stop focusing on Hawaii and this whole dream of not being here in this area. We gotta focus on the stakeout job at hand and do our job. And that's when we then see the Cadillac that we saw earlier, and there's a gentleman driving it with what might be a hooker in the front of it. I'm not too sure. I think she was actually one of the strippers, to be honest with you, but I wasn't paying too much attention to their faces. Yeah, I wasn't. Anyways, that car is actually pulling up right to the hotel room where Da Vinci and Rodriguez are staying, because, you know, it must be a setup sting, of course, I would assume. Anyways, they come into the hotel room, and Da Vinci wants to check the guy. He's like, yeah, you're not actually going to check me at all. You're just going to sit your ass down there, boy. It's at this point where the guy's like, you know what, she can check me, and he's, you know, check me good, you know. And he's like, fine, you know what, go ahead, check him. I believe that's Roshan, the character played by Cynthia Webb, but I could be wrong. And of course, they're doing a drug bust because they sit the guy down to try some white powder in a big ass Ziploc bag. At this point in time, I also forgot to mention Rodriguez is actually hiding because he's not in the room as this whole thing's going down. And then the guy gives them the money. He's like, hey, I told you there's a lot of good hiding spots on this buy. He had a whole stash of money hidden in like a sleeve or a zipper in his jacket, and she didn't feel it at all. And then the next thing you know, the guy's like, I'm sure you got a lot of good hiding spots on your body as well. Leaves the room, and then he just starts taking off on this little, you know, Cadillac. I shouldn't say little because it's in the 90s and Cadillacs have never been fucking little, so I don't know why I said little. Let's just, you know, move on. It's fine. Well, as that guy's driving, this other car comes up behind him, pulls up beside him, shoots him in like the shoulder or the arm, and then shoots him in the chest, and then next thing you know, he's dead. He's dead. And his car kind of just pulls off to the side of the road and kind of crashes. Doesn't really do much damage. But then we see the car coming back to check on what they did. And the car pulls up beside him. It's kind of blurry and stuff. And we see it's actually Da Vinci and Rodriguez. And they're stealing back the drugs. Or at least trying to steal back the drugs and trying to find it. They quickly find it, and then they get into the car and take off. And then we see the Roshan character getting out of a taxi cab, and then there's this homeless guy just laying on his back on the road, and his name is Joe, and he's a homeless white guy with a big ass beard, you know, paper bag and bottle in his hand. And she's like, "Come on, Joe, you gotta wake up. You can't be sleeping in the street, man. Come on, wake up." He just starts coughing and rolling over like, I'm too wasted for this kind of crap. So then he starts to crawl to get out of the street, but he's crawling farther into the street. He's like, no, you gotta crawl the other way. And then he collapses in a parking spot in front of the car. He's like, yeah, I'm sure that's really safe with your ankles hanging off into the road, but you know, it's fine, Joe, don't worry about it. Then Rodriguez comes home, and then this little white guy who was played by Elliot Goff, I don't know why, but I could have swore he was a character in one of the Jurassic Park movies, but I'm wrong. It's shocking, right? But he is a character in the City Slickers movies, so that's kind of interesting. Anyways, he's got his bodyguard with him, which is Tiny Linster Jr., which is a weird combination of the two, but we'll just go with it. Linster's name in the series is Cutler Supreme. Alright, sounds like a sub, but that's fine. And then we find out Rodriguez has a gambling debt of $27,000 or over $27,000, which is overdue by a week. And it's like, how the fuck did you get so far in debt? You know what? It's understandable, I guess. People with gambling issues goes crazy. I'm personally not one of those people. I'll never understand it, but that's a lot of goddamn money. So that's when we find out that the Goff character, or whatever his name is a loan shark, essentially. His name is Elliot Paymer, I believe, in the series. or the show. I don't know what call it, the series. And then Rodriguez just gives him $4,000, like, that's all I got right now. And then he's like, that's fine. You got yourself an extension for now, at least. Get me the rest of my money, though, please. And now it's the next day, and we see the crime scene where they shot the guy and left his car on the side of the road. And, of course, it's Rodriguez and Da Vinci showing up, being like, it's a hit. He's like, yeah, I think so. It happened sometime last night. Then Da Vinci's looking at the guy in the car. He's like, ooh, fucking ambulance just destroyed him, huh? Crazy. Wonder who would have did that. Then we see Da Vinci going into, like, the holding room where they keep all the weapons that they take from crime scenes. He's dropping off random stuff, like a gun. There's something else that he drops in a box, but he's wiping it down with a white cloth, trying to be all sneaky about it. And Da Vinci's sitting down with Rodriguez at the desk. He's like, you want to go for a ride? And he's got, like, this boat yacht magazine. He's like, as of last night, I have enough for a down payment finally. And then the sergeant comes over and he's like, you guys gotta come into my office. And that's when Richard Sims is in the office wanting to question them because he's the DEA agent. He's got some questions about the guy that they found earlier that morning dead. And that's when they then find out that the guy that killed was an undercover agent for the DEA the whole time. And then Sims is talking right to Da Vinci. He's like, Hutt, I think was his name, was a friend of mine, and I'm gonna nail whoever got him killed. And Da Vinci's just like, jeez, we'll do whatever we can to help you and figure out who killed him. We'll definitely do that, right? Right, yes, cop's a cop. We'll do whatever we can to help him out. And we see Da Vinci and Rodriguez driving down into like a factory area, speeding away, and stopping the car. And then the two of them are yelling at each other, pretty much fighting in this like sand area, dirt area, because Rodriguez is like, you're a fucking dumbass. And then Da Vinci puts him in like a headlock and pulls the gun out. He's like, you better just fucking chill out. We'll get it figured out. So he's like, you know what? You got to settle down. They could be watching us right fucking now. We can't be fighting like this. Just get back in the car and we'll figure it out. And then they're sitting in the car and Da Vinci's like, we're going to find the killers. And Rodriguez looks over and is like, we are the fucking killers. What do you mean we're going to find the killers? We are the killers. And she's like, all they want is someone to go down for the crime. So we just got to find someone to fall on the crime. And Rodriguez is like, don't you feel bad for killing a cop? He's like, it happens. A cop's a cop. Stuff happens in this line of work. I pat him down. I didn't feel a badge anywhere. So how the fuck was I supposed to know he was a cop? Shit happens. We'll just get through it. And that's when Da Vinci's like, we got to stay on this case. We can't get thrown off this case. We got to make sure all the information and evidence goes through us on this case. That way we can set up the case how we want it to make it fall on someone else. Pretty much stick the case or the crime on someone else. That's when Da Vinci's like, you know what? We can plant so much evidence on anyone, and to the point where even any asshole will think they did even though they know they didn't do it. But we'll just plant so much evidence on them that they think that they did it while they're asleep. Then we see them pulling up on like this little gang fight on the sidewalk, and Da Vinci gets out to chase this guy down. And Rodriguez is putting the car in reverse to try and follow, and they're running down this random alleyway. And the guy's giving Da Vinci a run for his money, that's for sure, making him get his cardio in for the day. Then the guy's corner, he's pretty much like, what did I do now? I wasn't doing anything. Why are you guys patting me down and throwing me up against the wall? At this point in time, that Rodriguez is patting him down as Da Vinci's trying to catch his breath, as he's hunched over, pretty much trying not to puke his brains out from running so much. So then they're back at the police station, and Da Vinci gets the gun and throws it across the table at the guy, and the guy touches it quickly, like, that's not my gun. He's like, of course it's not your gun. Well, guess what? Now it's got your prints on it, so now therefore it's your gun, right? Then Rodriguez is like, well, what were you doing last Friday night? The guy's like, last Friday night? So what you're saying is I gotta have a good alibi for last Friday night? He's like, well, guess what? I was in jail all night, so good luck with that. Then we just cut to them break into someone's apartment as the guy's sitting on a couch watching TV with a girl, and they literally push his face into the couch, and then next thing we know, he's in the same room, and they throw the gun at him. He's like, not my gun. And then Rodriguez's like, funny, it's got your fingerprints on it. And the guy gets all pissed off, of course, which would be understandable. And then of course they're like, well, what were you doing last Friday night? And he's like, he pulls up his shirt and he's got like stitches on his stomach. He's like, I was in intensive care all night, motherfucker. They're like, god damn it, we gotta find someone else to pin this case on. Jesus Christ. And then we cut to them throwing this random white guy up against the wall. He's like, all right, I'm not going to fight you guys. And they throw the gun across the table at him, and he picks it up. He's like, looking at it, staring at it. He's like, ain't my gun. Wish it was my gun, though. And then he points it at Da Vinci. He's like, just, calm down there. Put it down. And the guy's looking it over. He's like, look, serial numbers, shaved off. And he's like, where's the bullets? And who'd I kill? And then he pretty much knows what they're trying to get. And then he's like, well, last Friday I was breaking into a jewelry store, so I was doing that at 9 o'clock, so nowhere near your jurisdiction, so oh well. He's like, I'm getting 1 to 5, and it's better than 10 to life, so good luck, guys. And they're both looking at each other like, fuck sakes, we gotta find someone else. I don't know what the hell we're going to do now. And then we have the two of them sitting in with the captain, saying they need some more time to figure out what's going on and figure out, who did the crime. He's like, you know what, I can't give you guys much more time because they're on my ass and I need to get this solved quick. And if you guys can't solve it quickly, they're going to start asking why you can't solve it quickly, and then they're going to start blaming us for the DEA agent being killed. So you guys got to solve it fast. And then we cut back to the strip club because that's going to kill up some extra time, and why not? Everyone likes to see some boobs and ass. So we're just going to do that because there's actually nothing that really happens in the strip club at this point in time. And then we see Da Vinci's in the back in the change room just going through Webb's purse, I guess. That's when he finds out Webb's an organ donor. He's like, you got a heart of gold and you're not just a hard ass. And then we just cut to them in bed after they get done doing the dirty, and they're both just staring at the ceiling and just like an awkward daze, ceiling, nice ceiling up there, no water leaks, good ceiling, nice strong ceiling. And she's kind of like upset because he wasn't thinking about her, and he's like, well, what if I was thinking about us and I got some plans? And she's like, I just don't want to hear them, I'm just tired of dealing with your crap. So I guess they're in a relationship together, even though I thought maybe he was kind of just hoeing her. And then Da Vinci's leaving and gets scared by Joe, the homeless drunk guy, who's played by Dennis Quaid of all people. I didn't even really recognize him, to be honest with you. And then he points a gun at him. He's like, get out here. That's when he's running off down the alleyway. He's like, actually, I have an idea now. And Joe's laying down, like sleeping, and Da Vinci goes to plant the gun on him, and Joe starts growling at him. He's like, oh, what do we have here? Look, it's a gun. Huh, shocking. And then next thing we know, we see Da Vinci taking Joe in the car, and he's like, what's your name? What's your name? Just keeps poking him, and then Joe's just like, Joe. And he's like falling asleep in the passenger seat the whole time on the ride because, he's just a homeless alcoholic somehow. And then the car ride, he's like, how'd you get the gun? Why you carry the gun? You just carrying it for protection? And Joe's like, I don't know. He's like, you must carry it for protection. You definitely for sure care for protection because you're homeless, right? Right, Joe? And then next thing we know, we see Da Vinci takes Joe to where the crime scene was. He's like, Joe, wake up. Wake up. Look out the window. See, look out the window. See, that's where the crime scene happened. You remember, right, Joe? This is where it happened. Do you remember how you pulled out the gun, shot the guy in the head? And Joe's like, I don't remember that. And Joe's like, or Da Vinci's like, yeah, you do. Just don't worry about it. You'll remember. We'll make you remember. Don't worry about it. Then we see them in a room where Da Vinci's trying to wake Joe up again, and he's pretty much holding him awake, and Rodriguez is there. He's like, fuck, man, he stinks. It's like, yeah, he's homeless. What do you expect? And he just drinks alcohol all day somehow. And they're literally showing him scenes from the crime, being like, hey, look at it. You open your eyes, Joe. You'll remember it. Trust me. Just open it up. And that's when Rodriguez is making him a drink, and Joe pretty much just looks over at the drink like, oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, give me the drink, please. Give me the drink. That's when then Da Vinci's like, remember where you keep the gun, Joe. Where do you keep the gun, Joe? And then Joe grabs the gun out of his jacket, and literally Da Vinci smiles over at Rodriguez. And then Joe grabs the whole bottle of alcohol and literally just sits back in the seat, just down the whole goddamn bottle. Even though he was only supposed to take a shot, but he's an alcoholic. It's fine. And then literally Da Vinci's starting to explain word for word what happened or how it happened, making it up. Being like, yeah, you saw the guy driving towards you, right, Joe? Joe, you saw him driving towards you, right? And then we just have this scene where we see Joe, the homeless man, standing with the gun out as the guy Hunt is driving towards him, and we just see Joe holding the gun sideways, trying to shoot at Hunt as he's driving away. And then Joe starts going on about how he was scared. He started to run because he was worried that the guy was going to hit him. So that's why he started shooting, because he was worried the guy was going to run him over, and he was only doing it for his own protection. And of course, it's just the drunk mindset of the alcoholic coming through, being like, yeah, I'm understanding what you're saying now. The next thing we see is them like underneath a bridge with Joe on the ground, who's pretty much passed out, and they shoot the gun with Joe's hand. He's like, you shot the gun, Joe. Good job, Joe. And then they have him back at the cop shop as they're making him write on a piece of paper, and they pull the paper out after he's done, and literally he just smashes his head on the table because he's that wasted. And then we have Da Vinci showing up to his girlfriend's house, Webb the stripper. He's like, I gotta ask you a favor. And she's like, yeah, I gotta make some money. He's like, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry, it's not like that. That guy we did the deal with though, he's dead. And she's like, what? It's like, oh yeah, he's dead. But I need you to do me one more favor, okay? And it's a simple favor, just don't ask any questions though, okay? And then the next thing we know, we see them walking through the police station. He's like, it's a second from the left. Don't fuck up. Just say it's a second from the left, and let's go from there. Don't fuck up though, please. Please don't fuck up. Just do it. Just second from the left. That's all you have to fucking do. And that's when we then see them in the two-sided glass room where they're looking at the suspects up against the wall, and she just has to say the second from the left, which is Joe, the guy that she knows who lives outside her building, the homeless guy. And she's like, oh crap, I know him. And Da Vinci's like, just identify the man. Just do it, please. Just choose the man. And she's like, I know the man. I can't do it. And then Da Vinci starts mumbling. She's like, just pick the asshole. And then someone comes with a PA system. No talking. Because you're not supposed to be like trying to convince the eyewitness. And then she finally fixed the second person in the lineup, which is, of course, Joe, the homeless guy. And then he's like, what the hell was that all about? As they're walking down the hallway, he's like, he lives in the alleyway. He's like, well, to be honest with you, you don't really live in a good fucking neighborhood. So just sign the goddamn paperwork. And then she's like, well, how are you so convinced that he did? He's like, oh, well, he confessed. She's like, bullshit. He didn't fucking confess. I know he did because he's a drunk. He doesn't do anything. And they started arguing back and forth, Da Vinci and his girlfriend. He's pretty much like, just sign the paper. Let's get this done with and we can move on. And she signs it, all pissed off, and then just walks away. And he's like, you guys are not going to be probably a couple much longer. And that's when we then see Joe getting thrown into a jail cell. And as he's getting thrown into a jail cell, we then see the girlfriend throwing a glass at the wall as she's having a smoke, and she's not happy one fucking bit. Now we see Da Vinci and Rodriguez in the chief's room being questioned by Sims, being like, Joe. He's like, yeah, you wouldn't give us the last name. He's like, really? You guys couldn't get a real last name for this character? Just Joe Doe now? And Sims gets all pissed off, being like, some goddamn piece of shit who's nobody and nothing just blows him away for no reason. He's all pissed off. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I got the best of me. I'm a little bit angry there. I was ready for this to happen, but I'm just a little pissed off now, to be honest with you. That's just some random off the street. And then the DEA guys leave, and the chief's like, make sure this case sticks because I don't want these assholes coming back into my police station ever again. So make sure this case is 100% bulletproof, please. It's at this point that I realized I made a mix-up. I thought the David Paymer, who I got the names mixed up earlier. I thought he was the loan shark guy, but he's not. But they look the goddamn same because he's got facial hair. But anyways, David Paymer plays Elliot Goff, who's a lawyer maybe or something, because we then see Joe is detoxing and he's having, withdrawals and whatnot because they find him in the cell shaking. And then next thing you know, he's in the hospital or in a medical bed. And that's when Elliot comes in. He's like, yeah, Joe, are you okay? Can you hear me? Joe, you there? That's when Elliot introduces himself to Joe. He's like, I'm your attorney. Joe, do you understand what's going on here at all? Do you know what's going on here? And Joe kind of just lays there staring at the ceiling. So at this point, we see Da Vinci and Rodriguez sitting in another court case where this guy apparently shot two people that were just sitting watching TV and then doused the house in gas to set it on fire. And then we find out that case, the gun's gone missing for that murder case. And they're like, how did you lose the gun? What happened there? And then we find out that the gun that was used for killing Hunt was actually the gun from that case. And then as they're leaving the building, the court, Rodriguez is like, you used that fucking gun? You used a gun from another goddamn case? Is, yeah, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal, okay? Let's just, I didn't think we were going to use the gun to kill a cop, so I didn't think it was going to be used again, but, shit happens. And Rodriguez is like, how are we going to explain this? That the same gun has been used to kill two different set of people, and yet the gun's supposed to be in police custody the whole fucking time. He's like, you know what? It's a fuck up. They fucked up at the station. They lost the weapon somehow. It happens. Let me see Elliot getting to sit down with Joe, and Joe doesn't look too happy. He's like, you seem like you're in much better spirits because last time I saw you, Joe, you weren't really talkative at all. So, nice to meet you. And then Ellie's like, so is Doe your last name? Is that what you told the officer? And Joe's like, I don't remember. And then Ellie's like, do you know what your last name is? And he's like, I would tell you if I could remember. I don't remember at all. And then Ellie starts questioning him some more. He's like, you don't remember much, do you, Joe? And Ellie's like, but you remember shooting the man in the car. And he's like, why? He's like, just because I can. Then we see them back in that same case again. And now the gun is back because Da Vinci planted it back in the evidence room again. And apparently when Da Vinci and Rodriguez were going to arrest the guy, he shot through the door like 6 times. And there's some other bullshit that happens, I guess. Then during the court, when one of the officers is setting down the gun, the guy who's in the case, he's like, that's not my gun. What are you talking about? That's not my gun. He gets pissed off and gets up to go look at the gun. That's when the guards start, drop him down the ground, and he's screaming, yelling, and swearing that it's not his gun. And then, of course, Rodriguez is like, we gotta put the right gun back. He's like, we can't put the right gun back. Or Da Vinci's like, we can't do that because that gun's being used for the other case now, so we have to convince them that that's the right gun, because we don't have another fucking option, because they just looked at the gun, so it's got to be the right gun. And then Da Vinci's like, how can the guy know that it's his right gun when he doesn't even know who his mother is? It's fucking bullshit that he knows what his gun looks like, but he doesn't know what his mother looks like. And then, of course, Da Vinci and Rodriguez go back to the evidence room to go in, and now apparently they need written access to get in, because the chief just came down and ripped him a new asshole about as wide as a 3-car garage. He says word for word almost. And then they're like, fuck, now we're locked out of the evidence room because now we can't take the goddamn gun back out. Then we see Elliot in court, and Joe's like, I signed the bargain. That's when they then get pulled up to the judge, and the defense attorney's like, he's already said he's dead, so why don't we just cancel it? It's done. He's like, well, he's not a sound mind body, so we have to actually file this case and do it properly, because I don't think he's mentally stable, and I think he was kind of forced into signing it. So then they reviewed the case. There's a lot of lawyer mumble jumble and stuff, and court mumble jumble in this movie that I'm probably not going to explain that well, so you're definitely going to have to watch the movie, because so far it's worth it. It's a fun movie so far. Then we see Rodriguez and Da Vinci sitting down for dinner, and Da Vinci's like, we're almost out of the clear, we just got to do one more thing and everything's going to be fine. And then Rodriguez is like, you know what, we can't do this anymore. We can't be busting drug dealers and taking their stuff and doing this kind of crap, because now it's fucked up and we're in a lot of shit for this now. And Da Vinci's like, yeah, I guess you're right. It was fun while it lasted, though. We were doing pretty good, right? And Da Vinci's like, what's the worst thing? We've taken out some scumbags over the time. So what? We hit one bad person. It's one person, okay? It just happened. It's just bad luck on our case. And Da Vinci's like to Rodriguez, you're not a bad guy. You made one mistake. It's no big deal. Just relax and let it go. And that's when we find out Rodriguez is like one of the more serious cops, because he's like, I'm just worried that we're going to get shit for this, and I don't want to be on the wrong side of the law, because I'm a cop, and I do want to do the right thing, but at the same time I like the money. And then we come to the Dunner case, where he shot the other two couples, and he's not guilty, and he's all excited. And it's like, oh shit, I think we might have fucked things up. And then Rodriguez goes to talk to Da Vinci. He's like, don't worry about it, I heard Dunner's walking. He's like, no, guess what, Joe's going to trial because the judge found him not mentally safe or mentally competent to go through the trial, so now we're going to do the whole thing over. Then we see Da Vinci get a call from the police station where there's a girl there that needs to talk to him, and we find out that Da Vinci's actually married and been sleeping with Webb the whole time as like his side fling. And his wife wakes up, she's like, there's no way to fix our marriage if you're just going to be leaving to go to work. It's like, yeah, well, I got to do this. So she's freaking out now because she got paperwork from the court saying that she's got to be in the court for the trial, because she's the one that picked out the murder suspect. And then he's kind of freaking out a little bit and pretty much froze her in his car. And he's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. Da Vinci's losing his shit in the car as they're both screaming at each other. He's like, just got to calm down so I can figure this stuff out, because this was never supposed to happen. And he's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. You just got to show up to court as a witness, and I'm going to tell you everything you have to say, every exact thing you have to say, so you don't have to worry about it at all. Then we see Joe meeting with his lawyer again, Elliot, and he's like, what, I don't think we should fight this. I think I should be punished for killing a man. It's the right thing to do. He's like, jail's been good for me. I'm starting to sober up and stuff, and I think I should be punished for the crime that I did. And then Elliot's like, I don't think you're responsible for the actions at the time. And Joe's like, I don't remember why I was carrying a gun. And Elliot's like, what, if you weren't carrying the gun, you might have been dead. So, the gun saved your life. So this is all self-defense, and you don't have to worry about it, Joe. And Joe's still saying that he wants to plead guilty no matter what, because he wants to be punished for the crime that he did, or that he believes he did. Then we see Da Vinci and Rodriguez sitting in their car at another crime scene, and Rodriguez like, she should just take off. She should just run. He's like, Da Vinci's like, well, if she runs, then we got no witness for the case, and then the case is going to fall through. And one of the officers comes over and knocks on the window. He's like, what do you want? He's like, we got 2 bodies dead outside, and there's 3 more dead in the house. I just wonder if you're going to be the primary on the case. He's like, just fuck off for a bit, please. I'm having a talk with my partner here. And then Da Vinci's like, if it looks like she's going to crumble, we'll just take the steps. And Rodriguez like, what steps? He's like, if there's one more chalk outline in the city, nobody's going to look. It's not going to be a big deal. It'll be fine. And Rodriguez like, you can't just keep going around killing everybody, because that's not going to solve the fucking problem. And Da Vinci's like, it's just strictly the last resort if it comes down to it. If we absolutely have to, we're not killing everybody. We're just killing the people who are going to screw over things for us and make us look like the criminals, even though we really are the criminals. But that's besides the fact. Then Rodriguez is still sitting in the car, and Joe gets out. He's looking at the body. You could just hear him in the background. He's like, yeah, that one's dead. Yeah, that one's dead over there too. Yeah, they're dead. Do you want me out here? Because they're dead. They're dead. I told you. They're dead. Then Webb gets a call from Stein, the district attorney, and he wants to set up an appointment to see her at 2 o'clock. It's like, yeah, 2 o'clock's fine. And then we just see her panicking as she's packing a suitcase, being like, I am getting the hell out of this city, and I'm never looking back ever again, and nobody's ever going to be able to find me. Then we see this car going down this big fancy laneway to this big fancy house, and it's Arthur Baylor meeting some other guy. But Arthur Baylor is played by James Earl Jones, which is very interesting, and that very iconic voice. So at this point, Baylor hands the guy the newspaper, and he's like, is there something here you want me to see? And then he points at the case, which has Joe's picture in it, and he's like, oh my god. And then we cut and see Webb just running to the bus and getting on a random bus and taking off. And then of course we have Da Vinci going to check on Webb, and then he realizes she's gone, gets all pissed off, and goes to storm out of the apartment. That's when he bumps into Stein, the district attorney, and he's like, hey, Da Vinci, what are you doing here? He's like, I was just checking on Webb here. She's not home though. Yeah, I don't know where she is. That's when Da Vinci's like, she's not in, and she's a suspect in a murder case, so when you knock and the door's unlocked and open and they don't answer, I know from experience it's best to check to make sure that they're not murdered inside, just to be on the safe side. Of course, I would never murder anyone unless it's in the line of duty, of course. And then we see Baylor going to talk to Elliot Goff, and he's looking at the paper at first, and then he looks up, he's like, oh, Baylor, and he jumps right up, and I'm like, still curious what Baylor is and why he's so popular. We then cut to Baylor and Elliot sitting down in the questioning room, where he then meets Joe, and apparently we can tell just by the way Joe's looking at Baylor, he's like, oh, you're related or something, or someone famous maybe. Then we see Da Vinci showing up at Manny's bail bonds, and he's like, you know what, I got a witness who's splitting town on me, and I need you to fucking find. He's like, what are you doing coming to me? You're a police officer. He's like, I don't care, I just need you to find her now and just get it done over with. And Da Vinci gives him some bullshit reason. He's like, yeah, she's up for a murder case, she's a witness, and she just thinks someone's out to get her. That's why I need you to find her in the next 2 days. You need to fucking find her in the next 2 days, and go find her now. And then we see the court going on with the case, and everyone's shocked when Arthur Baylor goes to stand on Joe's side, and everyone's like, what the hell is going on? That's when we then find out that Joe is Mr. McCall, and he went disappearing 7 years ago, and they thought he was dead, and they found him now, and he's going to be the lawyer, because he's the family lawyer for that family, because he's a very well-known rich family. And And then Rodriguez is reading a paper to Da Vinci about Joe, and we find out he's a surgeon who was doing a bunch of free surgeries for people in Africa. He's like, really? This is the guy you pick? This is the fucking guy you pick? And Da Vinci's like, he was in an alleyway. He was a homeless man. How the fuck was I supposed to know he's a surgeon? And then we find out Joe lost his wife and I think 2 kids in a multi-car accident, and they just thought Joe went back to Africa, but it was never confirmed, and that the last 7 years of his life have been a mystery. And Da Vinci's like, well, shit, I guess I fucked up again. What's the worst case that's going to happen, though, right? And Rodriguez starts yelling. He's like, oh, we'll go to jail, go to electric chair, die, go to hell. What's worse than that? Nothing's worse than that, right? That's the worst that can happen, right? And that's when both of them realize there's only one thing that can, tie them to this case and the evidence. And that's when they realize it's Webb. And then Rodriguez, who's always been like, I don't want to kill anyone anymore, is like, well, fuck, I guess we should just kill her then and get it done and over with. And Da Vinci's like, oh, God, yeah, I guess you're right. And then Da Vinci goes to talk to Manny. He's like, are you fucking with me? And then Manny lets him know that, my people went to her sister's house, and the sister said that the cops already took her, and he figured out, or he assumed that it was already Da Vinci. And he's like, well, what cops took her? And he's like, I don't know. I thought it was you guys that took her. How am I supposed to know? You guys are cops. You guys should communicate about this shit. Then Da Vinci and Rodriguez start making some calls to try and figure out what's going on, to figure out where she is. And Rodriguez can't figure anything out because nobody's talking about anything, and they're not giving them any information at all. The next thing you know, we see them roughing up Manny and beating the shit out of him. And Da Vinci's like, don't you ever lie to me ever again. And they just start kicking his face in some more. He's like, I didn't see that coming. Then we hear the case number of the court, or the crime being called out as Joe's being taken from his cell and walked to the court. And then next thing we know, we see them showing the gun that was used on the case. It's like, suspicious. And Stein's like, all these 44s are starting to look the exact same to me, to be honest with you, in all these cases. And of course, we see a bunch of the trial stuff, court stuff happening on right now, which I'm not going to talk about too much, but Rodriguez is up on the stand right now being questioned by Elliot, and he's very, very nervous. He's like, it was Cynthia something is the witness, and we found Joe because of the description, and, they're all both on the same street, I guess, kind of. Then we see Stein talking to, I believe it's Helen. They get a phone call, he answers it, and then they find out they found Webb, and he's like, well, who was it? Or she's like, who was it? He's like, I don't know. He's like, what do you mean, I don't know? They just told me, and they just hung up. I don't know what to tell you. Then we see Joe in his jail cell with his bunkie, and he's wondering some questions about him, and it's like, oh, you're a surgeon. He's like, and then Joe just starts saying how he was having an affair with a nurse or something at the hospital. His wife found out they had a fight, and that's the same night that his wife and I believe his child were murdered in the multi-crash accident. And of course, Joe feels guilty for this, and it has ever since. So that's why he's been homeless for the 7 years, because he just hasn't been able to live with himself and everything that happened, which is totally understandable, of course. And then we're back in the court, and we see Cynthia Webb being called to the stand, and Da Vinci and Rodriguez are like, what? Oh, she's actually here? Oh, God. Oh, we're fucked. And then whispering, Joe's like to Elliot and Bailey's like, I know her. He's like, Elliot's like, well, yeah, that's the girl that I identified you. He's like, no, I know her. I live close to her, kind of, I think. I'm not really too sure. And of course, Cynthia spills the lie about how she was coming out of this all-night mini-mart. She heard some gunshots. She saw the Joe running down with the gun towards her. And then once Joe made eye contact with her, he actually turned around the other way because he was still scared. And he's like, okay, you're going to try and help Da Vinci and Rodriguez out, but it's probably going to backfire. So then Baylor's like, so you remember Mr. McCall? You've apparently never seen him before. And you remember the gunshot and everything else. So what did you buy in the mini mart? And then Mr. Baylor starts, trying to pick apart Cynthia's defense. At one point, she's like, I walked along the street. And then the other time, she said she drove. And he's pretty much just trying to establish the scene. That's what he's claiming. But he's literally trying to catch her in a lie. And then Baylor starts arguing, being like, you saw Joe because Joe lives in the alleyway beside your apartment building. And she's like confused. And you can tell it's really starting to get to her. He's like, I'm just trying to let the witness tell the truth and not try to, confuse the jury or whatnot. And then, of course, Cynthia says that Joe lived in the alleyway next to her apartment building, and everyone else is like, oh, shit, there goes our case. And then Baylor's like, so why did you lie? Are you trying to protect somebody? Are you scared of somebody? And she just keeps saying she doesn't know. And then the judge is like, you need to answer the questions. And I expect you to answer the questions. And she's pretty much just looking Da Vinci right down the eyes. And then next thing you know, she's getting her mugshot taken. Then we see Da Vinci telling Rodriguez, we need to get another gun. And he's like, well, she's in jail. What the hell is that going to do? And Da Vinci's like, well, just because she's in jail doesn't mean she's going to have a long life. Just find another gun. Then Da Vinci goes to Manny. He's like, I need to bail someone out. $2,500, I think it said, to bail her out. But I want it to be a surprise. I don't want you to tell her who bailed her out. Just go bail her out tonight, and we'll solve everything else from there. Da Vinci's like, I want her out in 2 hours, and here's this bag of some drugs, and you need to get her out in 2 hours, or I'm going to come back and bust you for possession. So how about you just go get her out of jail now, please? Then we see Da Vinci picking up Rodriguez. He's like, hey, you got the gun? He's like, yeah. He's like, what's the problem? He's like, you know what? We've killed the DA agent already, and now we're going to go kill a witness. I'm sorry, this shit bothers me. He's like, just take your dress off and let's man up and get the job done. The way it's over and done with. Then we see Manny bailing out Cynthia, and she's like, well, why won't you tell me who's bailing me out? He's like, man comes to me, gives me money, tells me this person needs to be bailed out, and I bailed him out. And then she's like, was it a cop? He's like, yeah, sure. Cops bail out people all the time. That's definitely what happens. That's when he's like, you're a stripper. I know you're a stripper. So that's when just someone bails you out because they want you to owe them something. And it's just their way of trying to get closer to you. So let's just deal with it. You're bailed out. Just be happy with it, okay? And you gotta stay with me for a little bit. So let's just get it done over with. And then we see Da Vinci and Rodriguez sit in the car as they're watching Manny and Cynthia drive off. And Rodriguez is like, this is the last time. This is the last time we killed somebody. And Da Vinci's like, yeah, sure. And that's when we find out that they've killed 11 different people in this whole scene that they've been doing, and then this is the one that's going to get them caught. Then they stop in an alleyway and they get out to get some fresh air, and Da Vinci's like, what's the matter? What's the matter with you? What's going on? And that's when Rodriguez like, you know what? I owe some people some money, and I don't know how I'm going to pay them back. And that's when Da Vinci finally finds out that Rodriguez has a gambling problem, and this, you know, the thing they've been doing has been helping support his gambling problem, I guess, in a way. And then out of nowhere, Da Vinci pulls a gun out and tells Rodriguez to take his shirt off, and he's like questioning and wondering if he's got like a wire on him, like he's gonna be a snitch or something. And that really starts to piss off Rodriguez. Like, you know, all this shit you've gotten me into, and you're gonna finally start to not trust me now after everything we've done over the years. Now you're gonna start questioning me. He's like, what, you're just gonna fucking shoot me then? And Rodriguez is pretty much like, you know, if that's how you feel, then just shoot me now and just fucking do it now and get it done and over with. And then Da Vinci's like, you know what, I'm sorry, man, you're right. I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore, and I'm going crazy, and I'm a nervous wreck, and I'm just sorry for pointing the gun at you and thinking that you might be a rat. And Rodriguez is playing like the upset girlfriend, being like, I can't believe you just pointed a gun at me and didn't believe me this whole goddamn time. So I just can't trust you now. I don't want to talk to you right now, to be honest with you. And then Da Vinci starts attacking Rodriguez in the car, and then he actually finds out that Rodriguez was being a rat and has two-way on him. And then Da Vinci puts a gun at his head. He's like, yeah, you are a fucking rat. I knew it the whole goddamn time. Da Vinci's then holding Rodriguez at gunpoint with a gun pointing right at his temple, and he's pretty much just telling him, get out of the car. And Rodriguez is trying to talk to him, and he's like, no, just get out of the car. And then Da Vinci just decides to drive away and leave Rodriguez in the alleyway. We see Rodriguez back at his apartment, and he's pretty much having a mental breakdown going on about how much he hates his life. But he also doesn't lock his door, which is probably going to be an issue because the loan sharks are probably going to make their way into this apartment at any point in time. Then Rodriguez starts wrecking this place, going on about how much he hates his life. And that's when the loan shark and Tiny Linster come out of the back hallway. He's like, I guess we caught you at a bad time, eh? Rodriguez goes to jump the loan shark and the bodyguard, and then we hear a couple gunshots, and then we see it's like the next day, and we see Rodriguez up against the wall with his, head blown in. And the DA agents are looking at it, pretty much thinking that it's Da Vinci and he killed his own partner. Then we have two guys walking into Manny's place with guns out, and they wake up Manny's like, who the hell are you guys? And he's like, well, Miss Webb, you're going to have to come with us. It's like, okay, you're not going to ask any questions? You're just going to walk away? I guess it's fair. The guy's got guns pulled out, so it's okay. Then she's being questioned as to who pulled the trigger, if it was Da Vinci or Rodriguez. And that's when they mentioned that Rodriguez had his head blown off. And she's like, you're so full of shit. And she keeps saying she doesn't know because she doesn't really know which one shot the guy because she wasn't actually there when it happened. Then we see Cynthia in like a questioning room with Baylor, and he's playing the tape that was on Rodriguez's body, where Da Vinci's like, it's going to be a lot easier once she's dead. And that's pretty much when she's like, oh, okay, they're planning on killing me. Oh, okay, I see how it is. That's when then Baylor's like, you know what, I want to help you. That way I can help my own client, and we can get this situation all solved and get the actual bad guy in jail. And then Baylor makes a bargain. They're going to get Joe McCall off with no charges, and then they're going to get Cynthia some kind of plea deal or whatever, so her whatever crap doesn't go through. And then we cut to 4 months later, randomly, and we're back in the strip club. We see Cynthia coming home, and she's trying to turn on the light, but the lights actually won't work at all. So then she's a little bit confused, goes to the fridge to put some stuff away. And that's when then Da Vinci comes up behind her and puts his hand across her mouth and pretty much just tells her to shut up. And he's got long hair now and a beard, because 4 months, I guess he can grow his hair pretty fast. And then she's like, well, what do you want from me? He's like, oh, you're gonna grant me 3 wishes? You're just gonna grant me what I want? He's like, money would be nice. I haven't been working in 4 months because of everything going on, and I'm hiding away from everyone else, so Da Vinci's got that whole like homeless guy look going on because his shirt's all scuffed up, his jeans are all dirty, and he's like taking her money from her out of this little box. Like, that's all I got. And she's like, well, what's your plans? I'd like to know your plans. He's like, nah, you know what? I'm not gonna tell you any of my plans because you're two-faced and then you don't have loyalty. So, and then Joe literally throws her onto the bed, grabs a pillow, puts it over her face, and puts a gun to the pillow. And we hear the gunshot go off as she's screaming. And then he just walks out of the room holding the gun. Then we see a shot in her room as we see the pillow fluff flowing in the air as Frank has now left the apartment building. And then we see Frank inside Manny's bail bond office as Manny's coming into the office, and he gets the shit scared out of him because this homeless looking Da Vinci is hiding inside his office. That's when Da Vinci's like, well, I think I'm taking some time off. Can you probably get me a car tonight? That way I can, take some time off and get the hell out of here for a bit. Then we see Cynthia being stretched in like a stretcher into the hospital. She was actually shot in the left shoulder and not actually in the head, which I don't understand how he missed the shot or what, but it is what it is. I guess he's not a good shot now that he's a homeless man. And in the hospital, we actually see the surgeon is actually Joe, who's the one doing the surgery now, but he's living back to his normal, medical life. Then we see the car showing up for Da Vinci. He's like, man, you gotta walk me up because that way I didn't know it's not a setup. And then it finally gets in the car and it's not a setup as far as Da Vinci knows. Then while it's in the car, Da Vinci's like, you know what? Just go left, follow the interstate. Don't do any speeding or anything. And he's like, that's the thing in life. You just can't lose your sense of humor. And then the driver just literally turns around and we see the back window blow out of the car. And Da Vinci gets his face blown off. And the guy's laughing about it. And then we see the car dropped off in a dark alley as it's storming out. And the driver runs away. And then we see it's in memory of Tupac Shakur. And that's the end of the movie. Pretty good movie. I'm not going to lie. On the Rotten scale, I would definitely give it a 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it a lot. And I would definitely recommend checking it on Tubi before it does go away. Like I said, it is in the Leaving Soon section. But yeah, it's a fun, kind of like a buddy cop crime drama. The combination of Belushi and Shakur, Tupac, very interesting combination. And seeing Tupac being that nervous character, and he's like the cop that's doing bad but doesn't really want to do bad. Very interesting, and I thought they were a good duel together. Has a very strong cast, like Belushi, Tupac. You got James Earl Jones, David Paymer from City Slickers, which I messed that up earlier. Whatever, I'm used to it. Dennis Quaid. Of course, it's not Randy Quaid, but I'll take Dennis Quaid, I guess, if I have to. But yeah, definitely check it out. Like I said, Tubi before it goes away, and after that, it's on Apple, I believe, and Amazon. But that brings us to our next section where we got picked next week movie. So we're gonna stay on Tubi and we're gonna stay in the Leaving Soon section just because why not? We're actually gonna watch another movie from the 90s. This one's from 1993. It's an hour and 36-minute runtime. It's another crime drama thriller movie, and we're gonna watch Menace to Society because it's been a while since I watched this one, and might as well watch it for the podcast. After this one, we'll probably get back into the horror movies for a little bit, and then we'll switch it out every now and then. But yeah, I like this. I like keeping it nice and fresh. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And sorry, that's not just straight horror movies and whatnot like it used to be. I do like switching it up every now and then, but I'm going to get back into the scary movies, of course, because I do love watching them. And yeah, hopefully you guys will check back for that episode as well. Menace to Society. Watch it. It should still be on Tubi by the time this comes out. I believe by the timing it should be fine for a couple days at least. So, as always, make sure to check out all the links below. Main thing, check out the outro band, The Blood Opera. I find them on Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Facebook, all the fun things. Their links will be down below. And then you can also check out my links below as well on all social media. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And, of course, the main thing, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, the main thing being YouTube. We're pushing that YouTube channel, getting closer and closer to that goal that we have set up on there. Weekly videos coming out, almost daily shorts coming out as well. So definitely go check it out. Subscribe to that, turn on the bell notifications. And if you guys can, leave a review of the podcast. If you're on Spotify, leave a star rating. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. And if there's any other, podcast streaming apps,
leave whatever comments and whatnot. Check out the old episodes on YouTube if you want. Leave comments on there. And yeah, until next time, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.
Whisper in the classroom, the writing on the wall. What's blood for, if not for the shedding?
You used to play that childhood game, didn't you? The one where we changed